Let's go over some of the big mysteries of flash photography. It doesn't matter if it's strobe or speed light, we're all talking about xenon tubes. Xenon tubes! All hail xenon tubes. What is that, Scientology? Isn't that Scientology? No! Wait a minute, that was all hail Xenu, right? Yeah, I mean what I'm talking about. That was a pretty good joke. I actually didn't plan that one out. That's pretty good. Hey, I thought it was funny. Oh my goodness, I've had too much coffee or not enough coffee. Someone's going like, get to the point, fat dude. All right. T1 time. Most people don't know what T1 time is. You don't know what it is, look it up. T1 time, it could be T5 time or T1 time. T1 time is basically whatever it refers to. It is the time in milliseconds or microseconds for 90% of the flash duration to occur from studio strobe or speed light. Boom! You think it's just like an instantaneous burst of light, but it actually has a pulse duration. Now, if your speed light illumination is basically, it depends on what you're doing and your aperture. If your speed light illumination is basically 70% or higher of your totality of your light, doesn't matter what the hell your shutter speed is. I could actually stick my Fuji here at 1/4 of a second or half a second. And if like someone's jogging down the road and I'm sweeping by them, or if I catch them running really fast, what do you think? Oh, it's going to be blurry. No. Shooting at 1/256 power, typically it's like 1/13,000th of a second T1 time. Your actual shutter speed, or your speed of the shot captured, wherein which, say 80% someone running at night or running in late evening, 80% of your illumination, 70-80 depending on what it is the actual T1 time of your speed light or studio strobe, not your shutter speed. Speed is far more relative to flash T1 time than shutter speed. In flash, real shutter speed is not your shutter speed, but flash duration or T1 time. We talk about micro contrast. I've actually been the one harping on micro contrast endlessly. As opposed when we're talking about low element count and micro contrast, everything is about getting your low gain You know why flash photography looks so awesome and saturated? Because flash sensor saturation is infinitely more important than low element count. You know how you could overcome a high element count, or relatively so, one that desaturates your images and has poor low gain intertonal value, which is really important. It's all the little shadow details and the tones between tones, i.e. intertonal value, is saturating your sensor with boom! Pop your studio strobe or your speed light specifically, which is what most people use. Most people don't have a studio strobe. And of course it's too cumbersome to haul around places. Unless you're doing a shoot with a scouted location, you bring a studio strobe and you set your stuff up and you do it. Far more useful than a damn speed light. However, not to say you can't get away with a speed light 9 times out of 10 at 15 feet or less anyway. So, element count, zoom lenses, you can override a lot of that with flash saturation. This is what people argue with me too. It's like, well, my zoom lens, I do wedding photography and I shoot my events and you know, my images look really saturated and I even render them in black and white. And it's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, fat dude. Because they look really good. It's like, you're doing flash photography, aren't you? Yeah, what's the point? You know, you're complaining about high element count lenses. They're like, yeah. We're talking about ambient lighting here. You could overcome that handicap of the lens, high element count lens, by dropping a lot of light quickly reflected off your subject or background, whatever the hell it is you're shooting, by sensor saturation. This is something people don't get. Sensor saturation. The really important thing that I keep harping on that some people are starting to get, some people told me, it's like, I went out and experimented and you're totally right. People think that flash controls your subject illumination. It's like, well, yeah, sure, you know, speed light doesn't reach out that very far, so that's, of course, all it controls. No, it isn't. Speed light lets you control your ambient illumination and your subject illumination. Well, how's that possible? The background is 1,000 yards away. The speed light isn't going to control that. Yeah, it does. You expose for your ambient however the hell you want it to look, i.e. your background, you know, the beach in the background, whatever the hell is going on back there. Your speed light doesn't reach out that far, but we're not to that point yet, because all flash photography is a double exposure, basically, okay? Repeat after me. All flash photography is a double... This is really important. Just repeat this 3 times. All flash photography is really a double exposure. All flash photography is a double exposure. Let's do it one more time. All flash photography is a double exposure. What the hell does that mean? Because you're exposing for your ambient, and then you're raising your subject illumination up with your speedlight or studio strobe. Yes? Expose your ambient to make it look however you want. You can make 2 p.m. light look like 8 p.m. light. Drop on an ND filter. Increase your shutter speed to the capability that you're able to drop the light on there. You're up at 1,000th of a second. You need to make sure you got hypersync or high-speed sync capability out of your studio strobe or speedlight. And then raise your subject illumination. All flash photography is really a double exposure. Yep. Here's something else people don't get either. Other than landscape photography, which, hello, and architectural photography, other than those two, also to action, like Olympic shooting, okay? Let's just be real, because someone's going to, like, throw some poo at me like a monkey. Olympics photography, you know, you got a big fat-ass lens, and you're shooting so-and-so on the ski jump, whatever. Other than that, all right, 95% of professional photography is flash photography. That is really important. Let's think about that a second. 95% or more of professional photography, other than landscape, architectural, you know, sports action, wildlife, where you're shooting with a big-ass fat lens and shooting the speckled-breasted woodpecker at 1,000 yards. Other than that, you know, 95% of professional photography is flash photography. Gee, why does that image look so good? 2 words, SS. Sensor saturation. So there's the mysteries of a speedlight and a flash photography that people don't really get. Let's go over those again really quickly. T1 time is infinitely more important than shutter speed. Your actual shutter speed, if you will, is your flash duration, if your flash comprises 60-70% more of the totality of the light during your exposure. Flash sensor saturation is far more important than the high element count and micro contrast, because it'll overcome that. Sensor saturation overcomes everything, including, you know, low micro contrast, high element count lenses. Flash lets you control not just your subject, but also your ambient exposure. And lastly, 95% of professional photography, other than the aforementioned, is flash photography. This is a really concise video that is something that you should let your brain chew on, like, you know, chewing on a out-of-date soggy Triscuit. You ever chewed on like a soggy Triscuit? Soggy Triscuit's one where you expose, because Triscuits are like desiccants. They suck up in the moisture from the air and they go. You ever eaten a Triscuit where the bag was open for like a week and you're like, it's like you're chewing on a piece of rawhide? I've had too much coffee. Yes, I have. Too much coffee. Too much coffee! There we go. Speedlights and strobes. Everybody should get a studio strobe. This is what you should get for Christmas. Get a Digibee. DB800, DB400. If you're in another country and you're like, I can't get alien bees, well, get something. Get a studio strobe. You can do more studio strobe than you can with a pile of lenses. And a pile of speedlights, for that matter, to be honest with you. Nothing more versatile than a studio strobe. I'm not a studio strobe. I'm not a studio photographer. It's because it's called studio strobe doesn't mean you have to use it in a studio. Get yourself an extension cord or a power pack. Take it out there and make gold happen. Yeah, baby, get naked. Oh, yeah, that's why I like it. Boom! No. Kidding. Kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Not too much anyway. Bye!